Hello, everyone. It's Friday 5 at Live again, and we're going to do the dreaded perspective subject. And I know that people struggle with this, but I just wish I could convey how simple that it really can be. An easier way to do it. And I've deliberately chosen this little subject from Arles in Provence because it sort of violates everything we normally think about in perspective. I mean, usually the vanishing point should be converging as it goes back into space, but here it's it's converging to the front. We've got every possible vanishing point situation that you could have in an image because we are looking down, we're looking up the street. There's streets are going off at different angles. It's old buildings. And just to give you a little more background on what we're looking at, here's a longer view of the same place. That's the Rhone back there. And the reason we're looking down on it is because we've come up these steps and we're in an ancient Roman Colosseum there in Arles. The Romans ruled Arles way back when. And we had just missed a gladiator reenactment, but you come up there and you go up to these upper areas where there used to be seating. I guess they had to build new safe seating. And that's why we're looking down from this view. And I was very much taken with these lovely roofs and these umbrellas and the slight shadows coming out of them, and just a gorgeous subject. But the thing I want to drive home this week, hi Michael, is forget all those rules and drawings and pamphlets and books and stuff like that. And I've talked about this before, but because they do take these videos down, I want to drill it home. I want to do the two pencil method, where you get two pencils and you just hold them to what you're looking at. Doesn't matter if you're looking down on something, if you're looking up a street, if you're looking down a street, if you're on a slope and the building is not, or you and the building are on a slope, this will help you work that out because the pencil cannot lie. Get any two things that have a relatively straight edge. Use the edge of your phone, a credit card, your fingers, the side of a brush. This might be an argument for the Oriental brushes because they have straight handles. But when you need to work out the perspective, you hold it against the roof line here and you hold it against the ground line there, and you can see that, oh, there's a ever so slight convergence going down this way. Or, oh, there's a very pronounced convergence going up that way. There should be technically, yeah, I guess it would eventually converge over here, but this will also help you find your roof lines. It will help you find the center line through a thing, and then it'll help you find your verticals. Now, the easy thing about perspective is that verticals will almost always be vertical unless if we were higher up, they might look like this. And I can see that if I do hold these, there is a slight, it's wider here than it is here. And we might draw that in. But this is so simple. You don't have to memorize anything. You don't have to measure anything. The brushes are in your hand. You're going to use them. You don't have to carry anything extra. And one of the things that kind of drove this whole point home for me was last year when Cecile took us to Brittany, we went to a little town called Dol de Bretagne, and they had a museum opposite where they're restoring this cathedral, and it showed the tools that the ancient architects used. And I can guarantee you there was nothing with any numbers on it. Nada. There were anything with a battery or a laser or any of the stuff they use nowadays. It was sticks and strings with knots in them and ropes. And they built stuff like Notre Dame and this thing here. And I mean, here's a very old drawing of some guy with some kind of business with some sticks and strings and plumb bobs and simple stuff. It works. The pencil will not lie. The stick will not lie. So that's what we do. So I love this because it takes all of the angst and the joy out of drawing and painting and goodness. I mean, if there's no joy in it for our doing it, if it's a torturous workout with rulers and things like that, how can the viewer get any joy out of it if we didn't have joy going into it? So let's go right away. Let's find where's our... We have a couple of key verticals. Let's look for a simple shape. Always look for be lazy. Look for the easy stuff. That's almost a square, and it's sitting a little bit high in the... And I'm going to... I'm going to taper it just a bit. And then we've got a line going back here. We've got a line going back here. They're going to help us. They're going to, we're going to eventually come up with some buildings out of this. Let's see. We've got down here, now notice, the line through this is not exactly parallel. Oops. This pencil is magnetic. Huh? It's not straight across. It's ever so slightly tilted. So all of that business there. Look for, see, that's a tapered, skinny wedge shape. Look for stuff like that. That'll help you. There's a line through, and here's a tip. I mean, hot tip. If you have things that are in a painting that should be fundamentally horizontal or fundamentally vertical, if you put them a little bit off kilter, they'll make the painting feel a little bit more active. I love this, the bit of the steps coming through here. All of this is going to happen in here. It comes outside of this just by a little bit. I'm going to say they fall into that shape. It's like a, what would you call that, a lozenge of some sort? Light lines at this point. Now we've got these, let's break these up. Now there's a, that's a real art thing. They're not quite square. And I promise I'm going to draw them up darker as we go. Hi, Charles. And goodness, I have fun drawing like this. So this section, that gets divided into three. These are smaller divided into three. They're fundamentally square. There's some gaps between them, and then there's, oh, I love this one over here. Coming out, hold your pencil, find that angle. You put it in your hand, and we should not be scared by these things. We should say, oh my God, look at that cool thing, man, I gotta draw that. So we got that, hold your pencil out, boom. You know, if you lock your arm, lock your elbow, and you put that like that, if you just pivot at the waist, when you come over, you should be at the same angle or pretty darn close to it. So, see, like I need to go shallower on that. Now, over here, street like that, where does it come? It comes a little bit into this, which means that needs to come back a little further. Now, let's get into some of these things up here. There's a central thing. Is it halfway through here? There's a little more on this side than that side. Then, that roof is like that. Now this thing, just look for the triangle. Look for the triangle in here. I'm going to ignore the mini split. And then we've got a bit of a balcony. Triangle down here. Oops, see, now I didn't have that where it should be. Look at that. Okay, that should be here. Where does this line meet that line? That's what you look for, relational drawing. Windows are in this column here, that column there. Street is going back like so. Now, I'm going to start drawing stuff a little darker. Notice one down, up, music. All that stuff gives it the, and look for a shape like that. That'll help you draw the umbrella. Maybe that's too big, yep. Verticals are, for the most part, vertical. Got a balcony in here, got a roof line here. This business right there, I am just going to cut that thing off the building. There was, maybe I'll add some of it. Put the pencil, hold it, find the angle. I'm just going to have more of this roof be at a slant. Now back here, oh, it hits the top of the, well, gosh, this is not this is a little longer than I should tell people it's very important to always have this rectangle be the same proportion as that rectangle. But since it's not, we will fudge. So I'm doing the building back here. See that little wedge? It's tapered. That. You don't have to get it right the first time. Don't try. I'll just bring the tape down. What's what I'm going to do? I'm just going to remind myself to end it right there. In fact, we will do that. Tape. We shall correct our the quick fix, which only means I'll have to be more careful when I measure for my mat when I cut that. So, back to our umbrellas down here. These are little ovals. I have half a mind to borrow some, rather than dark green, to borrow some yellow from the place across the street. It just, yellow is like a quintessential aural color. And so the next thing we have to look for is the ups and downs of the various roofs. Okay. That's a long one. This comes, ooh. Don't be afraid to draw lines which need to be erased later. You can do that. There's a little bit of something coming out over here that I think is that awning, and I like it. I'm going to have it like that note of red. Now there's some verticals in here. Oh, there's a pitched roof here. Look at that. Look for the line on the ridge of the roof. Goes like that. And that meets this. Good. Okay. So I can start erasing some bad lines. Thank you, Lena. It's a very beautiful place. Just up the street this way, One of the really cool things about Arles was that if Van Gogh had painted a painting there, they would have a ceramic tile reproduction on a pedestal. So now I'm looking for there's a lovely in, out kind of thing going on here. So I'm looking for that. So this, again, I want to stress, this is probably as complicated a perspective issue as you could get yourself involved in. But if we use the pencil method, it makes it so much easier. Just rely on your eyesight. What's that steakhouse that says, no rules, just right? Now, there's no rules, just sight. That's my motto. There's a door in there. Looks like there might be some, good heavens, I don't know, it's chimneys or something or who knows what. The windows and doors and stuff, we're going to pop those in after the fact because we're just going to lay in big swaths of color and get that going. Now, I've got this balcony here. Then there is a I'm in love with terracotta tile roofs. And you really have to appreciate that there were guys, carpenters, stonemasons, roofers, people like that could, oh, this comes out further down, doesn't it? That could build into these irregular spaces like this and not get lost. Which means they were probably measuring with strings and sticks or something. They weren't using things with numbers on them. Now, our umbrellas, to get these to look like umbrellas, take a look where the point is. It's not in the middle, like here. It's way off at nearly at the top. Here it's there. It's about what? 3/4 of the way up. Same with this one. Same with that one. Very high on this one. So if you find that point, then you just have to go to the 4 corners and you're good to go. Now these other ones, the same thing. That it's not in the middle of the circle because it's more of an oval, correct? So find the place where the pole comes, and then you can get that right. Now there's all kinds of little stools and seats. Let's get this all fully out there. Since they're all darker than the surrounding area, I am going to put them in after the fact. There's some windows in here. There's a building there. I'm not going to get into that yet. I'm going to do that while we paint. Hi, Mickey. Oh, I love this. Look at this. That window is lower than this. And there's that irregularity that painters love. So the top two, ooh, they're not. That window is higher than this window. Oh my goodness. So there you go. There's carpenters and masons and people who can build into an odd-shaped space and get it right. Bless their hearts. And the openings to the Brasserie L'Aficionado. Now, it's not going to look like anything actually till we actually start painting, but then we'll see it happen. Some lovely action back here. Some kind of semi-awning coming out of there with some tables. Let me see, come on. So I'm going to take a little bit of the pencil work out of this, because they do need to be white. Here, like, look for triangles like that. Triangle in there, lady in red. That's pretty much vertical and horizontal. Oops, nothing going on there, right? That's okay. Some folks, we're going to paint those in. Maybe I'll try to skip her hat. Steps of the Colosseum. Oddball, this, that, and the other. Miscellaneous flotsam and jetsam. That's going to get painted later. I like that there's 3 arched windows and one that isn't. Now here's something to look for. Notice that the bottom line, the bottom line here kind of corresponds to the bottom line on that window because they're on the same floor. Unless there's some sort of weird. So you bring this, you extend visually the line across, and then you go back. Bring it across visually. Well, they're not the same, are they? Okay, that needs to be, and go back. So the bottom of that window will be here. The bottom of that window will be there. The top of that window will be there. Cross, back. Then you just obey the railroad tie thing with these windows, and you can have a shutter coming out or not. So anything is possible. And let's start painting. Thank you, Lena. Yeah, I could still screw this up, couldn't I? We don't know yet. So to review, use your pencils. And if you're trying to find where the building hits the ground and where the roof line is, use 2. Boy, I need to taper that a whole lot more over here. So that means this could probably come out. Okay, yeah, so that needs to, I do have a vanishing point there. A couple of little tables here I'll try to miss. There's some interesting business going on here. There is a well-worn traffic maybe I'll put that in, we'll see. But time to paint. So as usual, light colors first. We're going to skip this as pure white. That's going to be just a bit off white. Everything else is going to have to be more, all these lovely neutrals, reddish neutrals, yellowish neutrals, brown-orange neutrals, ochre, blue-gray neutrals. This is a little bit of everything. I probably should have not cleaned my palette. So, I am going to use a little bit of orange, a little bit of red iron oxide, maybe a little bit of all my reds. And I'm going to try to hit the area, just the areas where there should be a roof in here, right? Yeah, there it is. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow ochre in that to modify it, because not all these clay tiles came from the same place, right? Let's make this a little bit different. These are light mixes. Just as long as they're off-white, we should be good. I'm going to put a bit of alizarin and pinker in this one, just to have a little bit of variation. And we're not too concerned yet. Let's see, we've got some ochre-ish. That's a word for you. Ochre meaning yellow ochre and maybe a little neutral tint so it's not purely yellow ochre. Coming down here, let it mingle, let it mingle. Boy, we get to here, it gets a little lighter. Out here in the street, it doesn't matter because brown and yellow ochre right here. Doesn't matter if it gets in there because that's darker, right? So you don't have to worry about that. I'm not worried, well, I might worry about that one. I don't know. Okay, so I've got a sort of pale yellowish. There's the most delicious color. That's too much. Get some water. 2 of these. Need some more red there. I want them to merge. And let's see, let's get a little bit of neutral tint. and that yellow ochre, and oh goodness, pull it down there. Also in here, we need some reddishness. Not that red. In here. Well, I've got some, okay, I've mixed up a thing here that is some neutral tint. I'll just put a little bit of lavender in it and let it be that for now. Leave a bead down there, come underneath there. I need something yellowish or sienna-ish in here. I know it looks brutal, but it's when we start sticking these key darks in there that it all sort of comes out in the wash. Well, maybe not comes out in the wash. Maybe that's not the word we want, because this is a wash, right? Now I'm going to put a little bit of sienna into that neutral tint and a lot of water. The thing I got to do is just be very careful not to get into these white umbrellas. I can get into this area here. That's okay, where the chairs and things are. Now I'm going to put a little more of both in there. And maybe a bit of yellow ochre. Just because I want it warmer. Well, as long as there's water on the surface, you can feed another color in. So I left some white spots. Hopefully I can turn those into people. It's going to be darker here. It's going to be darker there, places like that. I do need to take this a little bit off white. And it seems to be kind of cool. So it's going to be a lot of water. And hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Hope to catch up with you at Dubuque. Go through the windows, they're darker. I'm going to be doing oils this year in Dubuque. It's just too doggone hard to do these things. And some of the crazy windy situations we have that time of year. So, okay, now this, I think I could smuggle a little bit of warmth into some of these areas. What that, oh, there's like a ochreish region down here. Maybe a little more in here. But it's gonna be holy mess stage, definitely. For the time being. This, let's see, where's that lavendery color? We need that over here. We need that over here. All of those terracotta colors are going to need to be played with, modified, whatever. Let's do it now, because they're all kind of setting up. So we'll get a smaller brush, like one of the Orientals. And sienna, alizarin. A little bit of neutral, ooh, that's too much. Neutral tint. Ochre, more of the sienna and the red. Might be sorry I did that, but we'll see. Take a damp brush, and if I get some blossoms there, goody goody. Because it's tough to get that textural look of these tiles without having to paint hundreds of individual tiles, which looks terrible to my eye. It's not good at this scale. Get some of the neutral tint. Kind of pull that along there. Underneath that. Maybe back here a bit. Definitely back there, but it's going to get darker back there. We will be doing much more. I'm going to try to melt those windows in. Windows. Speak English much, John? Just for starters here. Just to try and get some form going. So I can kind of see the picture develop for me. Okay. Starting to get there. I think I really should give this a good dry. Or do it, squinting, and I'm feeling that, first of all, I want a little bit more on that. That should be darker on that side. What can we do? Yeah, it gets darker over here. Let's get some neutral tint and some cerulean and a little bit of red, so it's a purplish bluish eggplanty type color. I'm not going to do those yellow stripes because I'm thinking now, that might be a little too close to the edge of the painting. Wet edge on this side. Add some sienna or reddishness to that, and a bit of water. So what I'm looking for is I need the level of contrast between here and here. There's some ochre in that as well now. Try to make a hat or two or a dress. Just looking for some abstract shapes. Putting a little bit of yellow ochre in this mess. I do think I will make those umbrellas yellow just for the fun of it. Put a little more, ooh, that's too much blue, isn't it? So let's take it down, sienna. Too much sienna. Okay, let's something paler blue. Too much of that blue. Boy. Sienna, there we go, something like that. There's a lovely shadow pattern on the right side of the street here that I want to kind of riff on because it frames the umbrella here. I'm even going to bring something across as if it were, yeah, there's antennas and that sort of thing going on back there. Then there's the shadow proper coming out from that umbrella. Going over to these umbrellas. Leave minor bits of white or the color that's already there. We're going to leave that in to be the tabletops and that sort of thing. There will be darker colors going in here. And let's not keep this the same. Let's modify it as we go to the right. A little more red, a little more blue, a little more brown. So long as it's plausible. That's the, what have I done? Oh, okay, I didn't make that round. Shadows for some people. Colosseum steps. Tarmac. Funny how you'll suddenly see a color somewhere else when you're painting it. A little more bluishness in that, so I'm going to add some lavender. So this is a tarmac street, but there is also a shadow being cast onto it from the buildings on that side of the street. So So could be darker over here, couldn't it? Doors. Trying to work this while it's wet because I want these areas to melt into one another. There'll be some chimney pots and things of that nature. Yeah, that whole side needs to be darker, which means we'll probably have to glaze it. So I am going to pick out, evacuate these little beady bits. Those, if I'm lucky, will become people. But I need that to be a very carefully monitoring the condition of the paper, where it's damp, where it's... If I've just painted there a few seconds ago, I probably want to be careful when I do something there. Now, let's dry this. So I'm going to have to go to my mute and my hair dryer. All right, we're back. I'm going to have a little swuggle here so that I can not dry out my throat. Okay, so we're kind of in our lights and mediums. We're going to be glazing. To get the effect we want. This whole side needs to be a little shadier. There needs to be stronger reds in the roofs, so that both of these sides need to get a little bit darker, particularly this side, so that sticks out. And then these white things are going to stick out nicely. Now I've decided that I do want to make these umbrellas down here. Look at that, I get sloppy. Yellow, not green, like the place across the street. Because I just think it'll look nice. Maybe a wee bit of orange in it. Well, I always recommend having a lemony yellow because You can make it orangier, but you can't make your orangey yellows lemony if you need that. That's too. More water. And it's good if they're not all the same. And I probably could have done those earlier and then brought these shadows in because then I could cut around the yellow and make the shape happen. So, yeah. Now, while that is setting up, I'm going to get the bug that's trying to crawl up under my shirt out from under me. Then I'm going to maybe put a little bit of some note of yellow. Oh, there's some back here. A big thing I'm going to have to do is cool down and darken that side of the street. Now, cerulean is a, oh boy. I guess I put out fresh paint, so it's very creamy. See how much darker that is than that? It has to be darker. Squint, always squint. So, maybe put a wee bit of sand, oh boy, into it to, oh God, too much. Yeah, that makes that look brighter. But I'm going to tease in a bit of yellow ochre towards the bottom there. Because it's wet, and I think I can get away with it. That's a dull shadow, and I want it to stay dull. I'm going to put the red. It's probably not a good idea to stick a red thing right at the corner, but we'll see. I want to get more of that action going over here. It's just lovely how that's been over and over and over, probably tiled and retiled, and goodness, that has to be so much darker, as does this. Let them merge. Let them merge. I'm squinting. Oh, there seems to be some neutral grayish colors happening in there as well. That one has to be orangey. Okay. This area has to be more ochre. Let's see if we can do it in a not quite perfect yellow ochre, but a little bit mottled. I think some other colors are getting into it. A little bit of that over here too. Oh, come on. There's a lovely shadow being cast across this door from whatever this structure was there. Here as well, underneath here. Very much so over here. And I think I'm going to have to darken this. Yep, this side needs to be darkened yet harder. Is that a word? Darken harder? I need that level of contrast. Yep. Okay, I'm getting closer. Not 100% happy yet, but I'm getting closer. That's dry enough that I'm going to make the purplish gray shadow that I think I see there coming. Cast by the other buildings across the street. Let's bring something under there. Let's bring something else in from over here. We don't know what it is. And there's greenery and assorted darks. I'm not going to paint stuff. I'm going to paint shapes. I can make it green as long as I keep the shape right. I'm trying so hard to get the look of a fresh, happy sketch that says, boy, when I came to this place, I got really excited because it was like so old and there's all this ancient stuff and there was gladiator stuff and there was like Van Gogh and there was take the boy out of the country, right? So get them all excited. So the business end under here. When the darks go in, that's when things have the appearance of taking place. What do we got? Signs, we have ultramarine and burnt sienna, my go-to dark. I'll work my way down. I'd like to try and get the upper portion of a window darker than the lower portion, if I can get it that way. And because when the sun, the sun's above us, and so the way I'll do that is I'll put it in like so, and then I'll just touch under it with a wet brush and try to tease it down so that it's a little bit lighter at the bottom and a little bit darker at the top. And Little darks in between these things. Hopefully I'm starting to see some three-dimensionality. I got that window up there I need to touch under. Oh, I probably should go some darker shutter things. I want a broken stroke here. I'm going to try and make a dark green out of this blue and maybe some Prussian and some of that nickel azo yellow. Well, thank you, Lena. Asia shared some pictures from the Tretyakov today, and there were some images and some, particularly a sculpture, that just blew me away. My goodness. What a rich, rich heritage of art in all these places in the world. And it's too bad that we can't share them simply and with joy. So I'm going to try and put some quick shutters like that, broken strokes. And I will clean up the top edge of the shape. Here's a tip. When you're putting these windows in, try not to keep them all as dark as they go back. The further away they are, probably the lighter they're going to look. The minute you look over there, you will see that, oh my goodness, it's very dark. It's the same green as we have here. But if you're looking at these will appear different. If you're looking at these will appear different. So you have to be very careful with that. And I'm going to try and modify them just a bit by putting a little bit of a different blue. Oh, there's none in that, right? So, some of them. There's let's see. We need a sort of a shadow color, don't we? Underneath there's just like the windows, I'm going to tease the shadow down. That needs to be a little bit more happy. And it looked like a wicker or something. That portico. More yellow ochre. So a little bit of yellow ochre and alizarin. And let's get a bit of that going on the roof here. Particularly the forward edges of these roofs. A bit that's closer to us. So, and now that area needs to be darker. So a great way to make that is a very neutral color, is a little bit of everything, cool and warm, that I've been using. But to be safe, I'm going to dry everything. So I'm going to mute us and pause it for a second. Come off the mute. And now I'm going to try to glaze. Well, let's first take advantage of what can I erase here. Get any stray pencil marks. So I need a warmish neutral, which I'm going to make out of everything I've been using, plus a little bit of some red. Not that much red, which means maybe I should get more of this. Okay, glaze away. That means everything that's darker gets glazed over, and this is done very, very carefully with a light touch. Might leave some lights somewhere just for the fun of it. But I was just feeling like this and this were not as bright as they ought to be, or could be. So a very light touch here. I don't want to disturb the underlying colors too much. Guess I need to make that bluer. Yep, that should have been a final glaze for that shadow. But where else can we go now? Where else can we go? I think I need a kind of a warm glaze in places here. I need a warm glaze perhaps here. I need a darker yellow on the front edges of these umbrellas. And then I need some more darks. So that means if we were standing there in the auroral sunlight, this would be drying out very easily. So Hi, Judy. Thank you for telling me. You're very welcome, Mickey. What I was saying is that next Friday is in Fairfield, we have Art Walk. And we also have a very good artist from Fairfield exhibiting in the Art Center of Burlington in the mini gallery, Asya Wiegert. And her stuff is really good, and it's definitely worth seeing. And that's the exhibit I'm going to go to. So we won't have a live at 5 next week, but I suppose I could show us what's going on at that venue. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Trying to suggest some tables and chairs here. Little dog. Yeah, some warmer darks underneath these eaves. This rusty railing here. The leading edge of some of these tile roofs. I am going to on the closest ones, I'm going to suggest tile work. And at this stage, I think the only thing I want to do... Oh, hi, Christine. Yeah. Hope to run into you guys. I think possibly I'll take a little bit of the turquoise and a lot of the water. And I'm just going to tint the shady side of these umbrellas to give them some dimensionality. And I guess I'll have to do the same thing to the yellow ones too, won't I? So that's going to have to be... Anyway, let's detape and see what it tells us. So, I probably could have been a little bolder with my contrasts. Yep, I could have been bolder with my contrasts. But that's better than having been too bold with them. So I'm going to make my roofs a bit redder. There we go. This one is a bit more yellow ochreish. That one there. And that whole side, golly. Let's just... turquoise, do I want to do it in turquoise? No. Lavender. Good old lavender. Lavender glaze. There we go. That looks better. Up to about there, I think I need to go darker. Yes. That was the whole problem. I just was not dark enough on my left. There we go. Bit of that in there, bit of that in here. And that's about it. Now, I'm not going to do a cooking segment today because my tomatoes are coming on like gangbusters, and I'm going to be canning tonight. And I'm sure that would be desperately boring to watch. So I could also maybe do a little bit of some Oh, hi, Catherine. A little bit of splatter and smear to get the street to look streetier. There we go. So I might fiddle with this, I might fiddle with that. I think I'd like to stick a little note of red in here or there somewhere. But basically, the big idea I wanted to get across today is don't worry about all those rules of perspective. Use the two pencils or the two brushes or the edge of your phone and a credit card or something like that and just find your angle. And no matter if you're downhill or uphill or above or below or the building's old or it's going several different directions, none of that matters. If the pencil can't lie, the brush can't lie, you can do this. If the terrain is undulating, using the two pencils, always look for bottom line where the building hits the ground, top lines where the roof are, and then you can see where it converges, if it's going this way or that way. All of those things will help you. So, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to play with this a little bit more. It was a crazy, beautiful place. And I will hopefully see some of you in Burlington next week. So, thanks, Jeff. Anyway, take care, stay safe, stay sane, and peace out.